Welcome to Sistas In Medicine.
Today we wanted to talk to you all about the match process. So, Dr. Ava, can you explain what the match process is?
The match process is at the beginning of everything. The first thing you have to do is take your USMLE. So you take your exams. Once you take your exams, you decide what field you want to go into. So if you decide, for example, you want to be a surgeon, so you want to go into surgery, general surgery, you have to apply to different surgery residency programs. There's tons in the US. The process is not cheap because every application you do, you have to pay for. So I always say the more applications that you can do, the higher your chances of getting an interview, because not every program will look at your application and give you an interview. Some programs won't even consider you, and some programs will. So once you have your interviews lined up, say you apply to 50 programs and you end up getting 15 interviews. Now you have to decide which programs you're going to go and interview at.
Mm-hmm.
Again, that's also not cheap because a lot of these places you have to fly to interview.
Mm-hmm.
They may pay for your hotel stay, but they will not pay for your plane ticket. So you have to fly there and go to the interview. So out of the 15 interviews that you get, say you only have enough money to go to 10. So you go to those 10 places, you interview. Now, after you're done interviewing to all your 10 programs, you sit down and you rank those 10 programs from number 1 to number 10. If you went to interview at 15 program, then you'll rank number 1 to number 15. And the way you rank it is your number 1 rank is your favorite spot, and your last one is your least favorite spot. The programs that are interviewing you are also interviewing hundreds of other applicants for the same spot you're trying to get into. So what they're doing on their end, just like you are ranking them from number 1 to the most favorite one to your least favorite one, they're doing the same. They're ranking their most favorable applicant to their least favorable applicant. You submit this to the system. They submit their list to the system. And match day is that one day where every single medical student in the USA or outside the USA, because everybody has to go through the same process. Every single person that's trying to get into a residency program, match day is the most important day. Everybody is glued to the screen trying to find out where they end up matching to. Just because you pick your number 1 as your number 1, that doesn't mean that they picked you. And so you don't know which one of these spots that you ranked you're gonna end up at. And the residency programs also, they don't know who they're gonna end up getting into their program. And so just like you're trying to find out, they're trying to find out too.
Right.
That's what the match is. You're trying to
So
match.
I think you did a great job. You covered everything. There's just one thing I want to add, and the only reason I'm adding it is because I did this. Okay, so I applied to internal medicine residencies, of course. I applied to probably 30, 25, 30 programs, and that was over applying because depending on the specialty, you may not have to apply to that many programs because some specialties are less competitive because they have more spots. So for me, I applied to 25 or 30 programs. I got 12 interviews. I went to 10, but I did not rank all 10 of those programs. So you have a choice if you go on an interview and you feel like, man, I I would rather not match at all than end up at this particular program. If I were you, if you have that feeling, do not put that program on your match list. So for me, I only ranked 9 programs. I did not rank all the places I interviewed at because in my heart I knew that I was submitting my rank list to a computer that had no soul. So I sort of control over what my results were going to be. And so that's why I chose not to rank some places. So you
So I want to add one thing. So for you, you applied to about 25 or 30 programs, and that was over applying.
Mhm.
And you got 12 interviews, but you ended up going to 10, and you only ranked 9 because one of them you were like, no way, I will not go to. Okay. For me, being a foreign grad, applying to 25 or 30 programs, that's nothing. That's like, what are you doing? I applied to 100 programs.
Oh my God.
That was a budget. I applied to 100 programs.
How many interviews?
I got 30 interviews, which was unheard of. Like, most people were like, that many interviews?
Wow.
But I know it's because I did very, very well in my USMLEs. Like, I did extremely well in my USMLEs.
Yeah.
And I had 30 interviews. Of course, I didn't go to all 30 interviews, you know what I mean? But most of the people that were in my class and most of the people that I knew that had went through the match process before me had applied to anything between 100 to 130 programs. No lie.
Wow.
And a lot of these people, on average, I would say probably got less than 15 interviews. No lie. So that's why if you listen to our previous video on why we recommend staying in the US, there's a huge difference between how many programs you applied to and how many programs I applied to.
Right.
And the amount of interviews that you applied to, like 25, 30, and you got the same amount of interviews as the average foreign grad who applies to 100 programs.
Right.
You
Wow.
see the difference? And it's very costly. It's very costly. So anything else you want to say on the match? And if not, go ahead and talk about the scramble.
So the soap or the scramble, and the soap is still a scramble in my head because that's really what you're doing. You're scrambling. So let's say you rank the programs that you think you want to go to, and you so everyone who ranks programs and submits their rank list to the ERAS system, they get notified on the Monday before match day whether or not they matched. So on Monday you get an email and everyone's stalking their email to see, did I get a yes, did I get a match, do I have a job or a residency spot this come Friday. Because Friday, the third Friday of every March, is match day. So that Monday, you get an email. If that email says you did not match, then you enter yourself into the soap or the scramble. So what happens is, let's say you applied to general surgery and you didn't match on that Monday. You can choose to scramble or soap into a general surgery place that has spots available, or you can even pick a totally different specialty if you want to. Now, the things that happen when people scramble, I'm not 100% sure, but what I think happens is that they pick a program that has an open slot and then they do a phone interview instead of an in-person interview. And then the program either says yay or nay, the applicant either says yay or nay, and they either click together or they don't.
Yeah, you did a very great job at explaining the scramble. I know for me personally, I have had some friends that did not scramble that I tried to help out with the scramble. So neither myself nor you have gone through the scramble. So as far as the little details, it might be hard for us to explain. But I know that some of these people that did not match had to take a look at what residency programs throughout the United States had open spots. And so those that, for example, we were talking about, we give an example of going into a surgery residency. So if you didn't match into a surgery residency, you have an idea of what residency programs, any field, has open spots. So it's up to you to either try to scramble into the open general surgery positions or even scramble into a whole nother different field altogether.
Maybe we should talk about some of the reasons why people may not match the first time around, and also talk about why programs may not fill all their slots the first time around. So, first off, people entering in the match, you need a personal statement, you need great letters of recommendation, you need a chair letter, meaning the chair of whatever department you're applying to residency programs for. So, for example, internal medicine, you need a letter from chair of the internal medicine department, and you have a dean's letter. So your dean's letter is basically a compilation of all of your medical school evaluations and basically a summary of all that. So you have all these letters, you have your personal statement, you have your board scores, your USMLE scores, and that's steps 1 and step 2. Step 3 you don't take until you've already matched into residency for most people. So steps 1 and 2 are included in your ERAS application, your match application that you send to residency programs. And it's one application that you transmit to programs. Now, if you have terrible letters, if you have terrible scores, if you've had several bad evaluations, if you've gotten professionalism memos, meaning you are just unprofessional, you behave unprofessionally, you don't know how to interact with people, you don't know how to dress, you don't know how to interact with patients, that's all going to go on your record. So every single day you show up to medical school, in the classes where you're getting letter grades and also in the clinicals where you're performing like a medical student, you're in the hospital, you're on the wards performing as a medical student, you have to bring your A game, because any glitch, any failed class, any gaps in your timeline, meaning if you fail and you have to do medical school in 5 years instead of 4, anything that extends your training, anything that's a ding on your record. If you fail a USMLE and you have to retake it, that's a ding, that's a red flag on your record. And those things residency programs will look at. Now, it's not impossible to fail a test, fail a class, fail a USMLE, and not match it. It's not impossible, but those things do count against you and make you less likely to match in general, and also less likely to match into your top choices or even top programs, even if you get an interview. Now, programs that don't fill their spots are programs that are in places that people don't want to live. So, more rural places that people don't want to live, those programs may not fill all their spots because people just don't want to live there. Or programs that are known to be malignant or have a bad reputation, people may not rank them even if they interview there because they have a bad reputation. And another thing is that people look at whether a program is community based or academic, meaning a university type program, like the Loyola University Chicago. They also have a residency program. They have a hospital, so they're an academic institution, versus somewhere like West Suburban in Chicago, which has a residency program, but it's a community hospital. So those things are weighed as well. And to my understanding, community-based programs are less likely to fill spots compared to academic programs, because people tend to want to go to academic programs, especially if they want to pursue sub specialties.
Right.
So those are all things to keep in mind. And
Hmm.
I don't know, is there anything else you want to add to that?
I just want to add that, not, well, being from a foreign grad, I don't want to say it's a bad thing, but it kind of sort of counts against you a little bit. Because, like I said in the previous video that we did, being from a US school gives those programs a higher chance of seeing you. Like, imagine every single program gets thousands of applications. Like, how many applications do they get for one spot? For every one spot, they get at least 2, 3, 400 applications.
Right.
So you're competing with hundreds of people for that one spot. So sometimes they don't even care to look at
Patient.
your application. I feel like they tell the secretary anything above this score, keep, anything below, trash. So a lot of times they go straight into the trash bin without it even being considered. And I know it's not fair because some of these people are not great test takers, but they make the best doctors. But hey, that's the name of the game, that's how it is. So going to a foreign graduate school counts a little bit against you. And on top of it, if you're from a foreign graduate school and you fail your USMLE one time, your chances of matching automatically drop. It's hard, so you have to be on your A game from the beginning.
Right.
That's the only thing I want to add for the foreign grads. Well, if you have any questions, you like the video, you have any questions, just let us know, comment below, and we'll make sure to answer your questions.
Right. So don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment below, and we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Is it
Ah, huh?
is it me or you?
I'm not on Wi-Fi.
So it's me. That's what you're saying.
I don't know, and I have three things for my Verizon.
Okay.
Hold on 1 second, okay?
Okay.